Recording.
Right. SEMRush does have, and there are plenty of other social media analytics tools. There's actually free social media analytics. But if we're talking about social media, anytime you're looking at an account, you're going to do some form of an audit. So to make this easy for you guys, I'm thinking use tools to get the analytics and tracking. Because if you were working at a big company and this was a full-time job, or you're an agency, you really should be setting up something that's going to provide monthly tracking details, how well social media is doing from an organic perspective, because organic and paid go hand in hand. If you don't have good organic, you will not do well in paid. Like it's almost a guarantee. Because the larger the organic traffic from your posts and engagement and all of the key metrics, which we could go over our metrics on a separate call, but all of the number of comments, the number of likes, the number of DMs from a post directly correlates to how quickly your channel is growing, and also correlate to how many eyeballs you're going to get for free. And then when you run traffic on those types of organic posts, based on what is successful, you have a sure thing. And a sure thing is something that guarantees profitability every time. And that's kind of the normal format for this. So in SEMRush, you would go and you would create a project for a company, which is where we ended last night, right? And that is your site audit of a company and what their health is, which you can see down here. Your projects are on the left-hand side, all the way down to your I'm going to go to the social media dashboard and start from there. But your projects are under my reports. No, projects. Sure. So you're going to create a project. You're going to get a site audit report. The site audit report for a company will give you information from an SEO perspective on site health, errors, things that are coming up and will turn into a problem. And you can go straight from this to the social media tracker. And this is where you connect to, you have them connect, or you can connect to a social media analytics, so that you can gather information and understand how well something's doing across any of their channels, right? This helps you directly see what's going on and understand from a monthly perspective what they're doing that's working or not across all of their channels, right? So it gathers data for you, and it gives you information on what the 60-day post history of engagement is. As I was kind of saying, engagement is the most important piece of this, because your engagement tells you how much your channel is going to grow. It also tells you how well, if you run an ad with that content that's doing well, it should do, right? From a profitability standpoint. And this helps you determine, based on like subscribers, what's successful, how you adapt an existing strategy that they have that's working to cross market. Now, why would someone want to do this? Number one reason is that you actually make money back from every view that you get on organic posts. So every company has a monetization. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok rolled it out. And you have to opt in to get paid. And you have to meet certain thresholds. It's usually, the standard is 1,000 followers. And you get paid per view after that, right? And you have to have 1,000 followers and usually like reach a certain number of hours, right? But there's monetization for all of these channels, and companies have to sign up when they've met that threshold. Is usually the best time to do it, but to also learn what they need to do from here. So this gives you, let's take Facebook versus Instagram, right? And you can add competitors in here. So for largest competitor, in biotechnology, oh man, I don't even have. So I would add these in as a tracker for Facebook. I would find their Facebook, add them in as a competitor, compare what they're doing to what we're doing. And then I would also look at for Instagram and say, okay, what are the things that we're doing well right now for getting subscribers, right? What are the things that are working for us? And you can determine that based on what the highest level of engagement is. And that's going to be likes and comments. So which post has the most likes and comments, guaranteed to be the post that has the most views. Is providing the most value. Any questions there?
So just a quick question. So for example, because you're going to tie performance, the performance metrics here are tied to a specific post on one of the social channels. Can you see that post directly within SEMRush, or do you need to go to the channel to identify the post so that you can actually see the content of it?
So as you can see here, we don't have activity for, you move to the post section for Kypris, right? So this expands, you can see and sort by what's the highest engagement, what's the lowest engagement, engagement rate, reactions, comments, and expand what the post is, right? And what it reads. You can do that same thing for competitors' posts and then see where the strategy might need to be adapted, right?
Great.
Does that all make sense? Any intern questions? Nope. Okay. So from that, we're going to set basically goals, right? So we can see what her, she's posting about once a week. So to get this really where we're playing around with things, we probably need between 3 to 6 posts a week. We can see that she's doing images, but we also know that video is preferred, right? So everywhere, if you look up and research what the market's doing as far as content, the shift has been to video across platforms, right? For eye-catching content. That's why shorts got rolled out. That's where people are re-platforming, with threads. We're going for shorter pieces of content, more pieces of content, and more raw pieces of content, right? People want that reality. So playing around with that in a way that the brand accepts. So because that's an important piece, right? These are owners of businesses. They care about their image and what they're doing and posting on social media. It needs to be based on what they're also comfortable with, but pushing them on that. So we've gone through how you set up a project, the monitoring and socializing. There's a couple of things you can see called Facebook Ads Library, which gives you direct content for any industry, right? And you just put in keywords. So if I put in, I will get ads once it loads based on this. I can see specifically what they're putting as content. I can go look at those pages and I can assess what they're doing from an organic versus a paid perspective, how that is changing and what type of content is working. For the brand I'm specifically talking about, Kypris Beauty, in this demonstration, we know that they work with estheticians. So this is a great influencer type of content that they can request and find an influencer to do with promoting the influencer on their channel, but also their products. They know they're getting the influencer to use in a demonstration, right? Shorts, but also longer form content. So maybe an application video, right? Or something of that nature. So if I'm looking at like Homebrew Labs, I might be looking at who is a beer influencer that would utilize this to promote the tool out. Certain things will help me find that we can go over. So you can see they're mostly, here's the before and after, right? So that's going to be bigger for her type of industry. We all saw that growing, maybe we all saw that growing up with Proactive, and certain skincare beauty lines that talk about the difference between, oily skin and non-oily skin, right? This is lip filler, but same kind of concept, right? So what are those before and afters? What does revitalization look like? How does it remove wrinkles and improve the aesthetics of someone's skin, right? So those are all things that I would kind of put down as notes when I'm doing this to provide ideas around the business. And you'll see the business owner is going to pick up on specific things that they're comfortable doing themselves, or that they're like, hey, I could use help here, right? Do you have some ideas around that? Do we have any questions around this so far? No. Okay. So this is where you could help them start planning out a content calendar, right? I'm personally a fan of using GPT chat for my social media calendar, providing them with competitors that the business feels comfortable and wants to compete with, and then putting that as, hey, here's their Facebook page, here's their content that they're posting. I would like to create a calendar schedule for the next 30 days based on this, right? With primarily video content. So we're going to go through that.
Jeff, I had a question for you.
Go for it.
So you're making 30 days of content for them on a calendar, but where's the content coming from? Are they making it? Are you making it? Is it like stock images?
Yeah. So there's pieces that they need to make, or they need to have an influencer make, right? For the calendar to be successful, which means that they might have to start in 30 days, even though you're presenting a calendar now, because there has to be time for outreach to influencers if they don't want to create the content themselves. For the example of Homebrew Labs, just realistically, If I were Trong, he's got a little bit of a thicker accent. So I would, if I'm talking about English, I'm going to want to make sure that it's very clear. And I would probably do my own videos in my native tongue, right? For content. And then I would have them transcribed, and I would have them repurposed with an English overlay from, he could do AI right now. There are plenty of free platforms for that, but taking his content and having his version in his native tongue, seeing how can he connect with that community, and then having someone with a very clear enunciation of English, no Southern accents or any other accents, unless that fits the demographics he's targeting, right? So if we're talking from a demographic perspective, which you'll see in SEMRush, what the audience, go back to projects.
Let me ask a clarifying question, because Trong has said that the majority of his sales are to dealers in Europe, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you handle that localization? Because, doing it in English obviously assumes an English-speaking population, although, most of Europe is, trilingual, quadlingual.
Right. So in that scenario, which is what I was preparing for at my last position, I was reaching out to French, German, Spanish. I had a select group of influencers that covered the majority of languages in that region, and
Right.
generally that we had to ship product internationally to, right? So I had my, I didn't go to Spain, I went to Mexico because shipping was cheaper for Spanish. But for any of the languages, like if I can get a French Canadian and that was a good fit from an influencer, I would send it to, the French Canadian region up in Montreal area. But anything outside of that with German and other languages, I was usually looking directly in that country's region, Czech, or to cover kind of Czech and Russian, etc.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I was just curious how you handled that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you one other question. Have you ever done subtitling on videos? Because we would we would do a lot of videos in English, but then get the and then give it to effectively international partners that would do the translation, and then we would take and subtitle the videos as well, kind of faster to market. Is that effective?
Correct. It is.
Okay.
But they also do that with AI video translation now. So
Okay.
they can have it with a native sounding speaker speaking and the translation, right? So it can all be Russian to Russian, German to German, etc.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So in here, you should be able to find audience segments. It's in the domain overview, which would give me a good idea of who's coming to the site currently, based on a breakdown of the countries. Oops. And that's just It's loading slowly. Anyways, while it's loading, you should be able to pull audience demographics out of that, as well as get some of that in the social media area, where you break down the actual. And so I would create a social media calendar for kids. Best practices. So you can see this spits everything out. You copy over, you edit what makes sense, what you need to change. And then I would go back to the client and I would say, okay, great, strong. Here's what we're gonna do, right? I would include that I need posts that are targeted towards Europeans every week, right? And I need posts that are targeted towards Americans. And I need to separate those out for the utility of this product, right? So post. So she can post just a lay, right, around her product, with hair droop down next to it, right? Her own hair droop down next to it and be looking at the photo, right? And see that the hashtag is Kipper's Glow. Here's the caption. And this is, the introduction, right? So I wouldn't overlay that much text into the post itself, but you might play around with like sending 2 posts out for the day and seeing if adding luxurious skincare, adding that as maybe a hashtag, right? Or what, adding that as a overlay on the image. In Instagram, we can see all of the searches, right? So we can see what are the hashtags right now for skincare. And you can search by what the highest volume is to determine the relevancy, right, for the client. And this is pretty much across any platform. If I switch to Facebook right now, I should be able to see what the highest hashtag is for skincare. I can misspell it. And because she's a luxury brand, I would probably go with luxury on this, but you can see what starts popping up based on what you're searching. And it is ranking them based on what the highest number of searches are, right? And this also gives me sample posts to provide of, hey, maybe this one fits well with the content calendar on day 10. As I'm reading through this, because I want to make sure that I went through every post idea, made sure I feel like there's a good fit. And if there's samples that I want to provide, that's all included. Does that all make sense? So this is the content scheduling and planning. Those examples are practical demonstrations for what the business owner is going to do. Now we're going to take this is the next thing. You can sign up, it's free, I think for 30 days or something. But you basically upload a email to this, connected to an email, and you upload a video, right? And you get 90 minutes. So if I took yesterday's clip from YouTube that was sent out, I can upload a raw piece of content like that, and I can upload it to this platform. And when I do that, it takes about 10, 15 minutes. We're going to do some other things while this is loading, but it takes all of this and it says, what are your preferred links? SEO optimization are the preferred keywords, right? You can add keywords in, and then in this, you basically click that you want to get flips. This is what makes this easy for business owners to take something that they're doing as a raw file, edit it down of a couple minutes to something very short. And it tells you in 12 minutes, I need to come back and check this out. This is great for podcasts, speech, like anything that is long form content. This condenses everything for shorts, Instagram, and TikTok. And it gives you an optimized title and description, and it ranks it out of 100. So it'll tell me what is the highest value piece of content out of this, and it will overlay those captions to this. So it'll adjust the video and everything we did to optimize for that. So while we're doing that, I'm going to go to so there's a variety of these that are social media specific for finding influencers, for doing these audits in different ways across different social media chat platforms. Hootsuite is definitely one of the top platforms out there on the market. And they help set up and allow everything to start for free, just like SEMRush, so that you can kind of check out how to utilize something like that. Another great one that I've used in the past, more on the influencer side, is called Upfluence. And this specifically, the software is free for the trial period and helps you look for creators across niches for a specific company, right? And helps you create like lists for them. So all right, well, you know what, I'll send you guys a couple of these links so that you have them. But essentially, they, in the back end, you look at influencers of specific sizes. So if I'm looking at influencers, the ones that would create free content for a product are usually called nano or micro influencers. Those range in how many followers they say the person has, but it's usually as low as like 500 to 1,000 followers, and as high as 20,000 followers for a nano influencer. Then we move into micro influencers up to around 80 to 100,000. These are the people who are most likely to just want to use your product, want to do posts about your product, and don't require a payment for the business to engage with. That creates the highest value because they're able to see and track a return before they ever get to a place where they have to pay someone money. And it allows them to see what the engagement rate is of the influencers with their current audience or how much it impacts. Now, I've seen channels go from like hundreds to thousands of followers simply based on getting the right nano or micro influencer. So that's someone who can long-term could be a face of the brand or different things. But there's a handful of tools to kind of test out, search out for these kinds of influencers and save you time. But during this auditing process, you would be gathering maybe some of the hashtags or things that people would be looking at with your content. Like we kind of saw with what GPT chat, they had they had brand specific hashtags, but they also have like skincare ritual, right? So if I go back to Instagram and I search skincare and I see where ritual falls in the number of posts and people, that's something I could then add in is what influencers are posting about that and determine that it's a good fit for the brand, right? That they would fit with what they're currently doing. Does anyone have questions? No. Right. So that is opus.pro. It will see where it's spitting out everything in the back end. That's literally how easy it is. You just connect it to a Gmail account and you get free credits and you pop it in. For many businesses, they need a YouTube, some sort of YouTube or content strategy that includes customer education. YouTube is the best platform for customer education, right? Hands down, it's got the highest search volume, right? It's the only second to Google there is. And people are specifically looking for, say, skincare ritual. There's a platform called TubeBuddy, which specifically helps you optimize and analyze your channel. All of the largest channels have it, and the analytics set up for TubeBuddy help you optimize what you're doing here, right? TubeBuddy has insights on channels and gives you a channel evaluation of what you could sell your channel for. It also provides usage stats and tells you kind of when retention is dropping off for video content that you're producing. And this would help the business from a perspective of posting content, understand where they are losing people, right, through the process. It has step-by-step checklists for posting, best practices, videos, and opportunities, and then it monitors your channel to provide recommendations. Okay. It does tell you on a keyword ranking how well, how likely it is that you'll get viral content based on what you're trying to do. Okay. At my previous company, we use this specifically for this video. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, this one. So we looked at what the content was doing, and this had actually jumped in the first 24 hours to either 150 or 250,000 views, because and then the page that we connected to this video, which was specific to black marble epoxy, also somehow with the video got listed as like the #1 position. And so we had this huge spike of like 50,000 visitors in like 48, 72-hour period. So looking at what people are searching for in your content and how you can create that content in a tailored way does a lot of good. Now, when I'm going to take Homebrew Labs, but if one of you would like to look at something else, I'm happy to kind of do that as well while we're waiting. So the these are basically what's the term? Taps, right? Okay, taps. So if I'm looking at his industry, right, and I'm looking at different companies that are posting and getting a lot of views, I can reach out to Beverage Factory if I see that this makes sense. But I can also look at their content and see mostly what they're doing right now looks more focused on the product in functionality and how the beer is coming out, right? So like it's eye-catching to watch the beer come out with not a lot of foam. And that's basically what they're playing off of if I'm scrolling through here, right? So Perfect Pour, right? These are all video titles that we could recommend as tweaks to our content calendar based on where it's recommending, what types of content it's recommending for a homebrew. Do one of you guys want to throw out one of the businesses you're working on and we'll talk through that?
Sure,
Amber?
I'm doing, I think Amber was doing the taps, right? Yeah. I'm doing House of Quail, if you want to try doing that.
Yeah. So her stuff is more so like okay. So yeah.
Sorry, Jeff. Trong is kind of in his own niche because he actually invented that tap. So I was thinking the marketing might be a little different for him. But you could still use those as an example, but he's kind of in his own category. So
Yeah. So I think from my experience with him, like there is basically a stark difference between what he's doing on Amazon and what he's doing on his website. So if I go to his product page, it is much clearer that this is a double filter that prevents debris from getting in my beer. That is not very clear without a lot of reading, right? To understand that same thing here. And that it reduces parts, right? So if I was looking at even some of the images he's done, I mean, he has he has a YouTube channel that did a whole video on his content. I would ask them if I could repurpose that video with Opus.Pro and see what it could spit out to provide more value, right? That seems like a totally worthwhile time of Opus.Pro that has successful content that you can look at and say it has 25, 50, whatever many views, right? And that this reduces the number of connections and hookups that someone needs to work a tap, which improves the quality as well. So I think those are kind of the things that it is very clear in his content and his title everywhere. It is much easier for me to understand what this is really quickly. His title does not help me understand that, right? If I'm looking at the picnic tap 2.1, I don't know what that is. Other than a tap, like I don't know what the benefits are there. When I come into here, it's not until line 3 that I see there is no beer line, right? That's the first benefit of this that I see. And I already could have, I got this big image over here. Maybe I'm scrolling through. Here's that, but it's small and it's halfway down the page, right? It's down at the bottom. So it's not even in the top. This is what I would see initially, right? And I probably wouldn't even look down further here initially, because I now have to read to understand what's going on here. So if I'm looking at the types of content and stuff, it's got to be very clear to me how this is going to help me as a user quickly, or I'm going to back out and look at something else. So those are the kinds of things I would say, like his Amazon channel does a much better job of explaining. And where, although he is completely unique, it needs to be explained in his content really quickly for someone to get hooked. And that does include like cores and things that don't necessarily directly have that direct connection immediately. They're more of something that engages the audience. So we have the $10,000 charcuterie board. That might be a title that she would do well with for House of Quail, right? How to make a charcuterie board. Now, she's actually going to be doing a class. She's working with a television show. She's going to be doing a class on this. We can see millions of views, right? She could talk about, she could do videos on how to make the charcuterie board for free for the ones that are not her class, right? So here's how to make a charcuterie board cheap and easy, right? If you want, at the end of her video, someone who's watched the whole video, who's doing this as a home project, if you want the high-end charcuterie boards, which is what she does, here's my class, right? There's the perfect segue into, this is my free version of what I'm doing. I teach you all the cooler, better, nicer looking tricks over here, right? That could work. So if I'm looking at this type of stuff, you can see how to make, how do you lay out your charcuterie board, right? You've bought this $400, $1,000 item. How do you lay this out in a way that looks like magic every time? Those kinds of things are definitely catching people's eyes on shorts. So I would play into that it's quick, easy. Like, look, you chop off this portion of the cheese and look, it fans it open and makes it look beautiful for your audience. You smush up this thing over here and look, it just looks gorgeous when you put this other stuff around it. Those are all things that, what's the difference, right? She needs a video explaining what her difference is. What is her unique selling value proposition, and why it's worth $300, $500, $1,000. Those are the kinds of things that I would do and play into the fact that she's going to get people who would save up for her charcuterie board, in addition to the high-end customers that she has, right? And start engaging that audience from the perspective that they want to know how to make their charcuterie board, even if they send this to whoever is going to make their charcuterie board, whoever's catering or whatnot. Like, this is the one I want. I want this. This is how I want it to look, and explaining all of that, right? There's the transforming wood into a $500 charcuterie board. That's perfect for something she's doing, right? I mean, it's out there. So those are the kinds of things that I would plug into, Instagram as far as what I'm looking at for content, charcuterie boards, check out what people are doing, connect up, and see what's relevant for her, and what influencers can she connect with, right? So she can send them $100 or $200 board that is going to get a huge amount of views from telling them, hey, would you just line out the charcuterie board? I'm giving you this as a gift. It's a $300 value, right? Because I shipped it to you for free. What would you just do a video on it? And the influencers are going to have more value for those higher end products, right? Because it is worth something that they would have tried to charge for. Any questions around this? Okay, that all makes sense. All right, well, this one I'm probably going to have to send you guys as soon as it finishes processing. I think we've gone through everything. There is homework that I'll send out where you're basically going through this analysis for the companies. You'll have to do the steps that we talked about of the research first, connecting up to SEMRush, looking at competitors, looking at what you think would fit with the business, and then you'll do the content calendar with GPT chat, and then you could offer, if there's things like we're talking about, where Trong has a very specific video that we could chop up in Opus.pro and get email approval from the influencer after the fact, but have all the video content downloaded to your computer with the titles and descriptions, right? So this kind of saves you time on something like that. Yeah. Okay, thanks, guys.
Any questions from anybody? Hey, I'll say the same stuff that we said when we were doing like the Google Analytics training and some of the other stuff. It's okay if you're going like, yeah, I'm not sure I followed all of that. Don't hesitate, ask questions. We want you guys to, gain skills and be confident, because what we want to do is once you're able to do this, there's a whole list of companies that we think can benefit from your assistance with this basic SEO and the work that Jeff's been talking about for the last 2 days. Okay.
And we are doing series next month that go in more in depth from the business owner perspective. That'll also help with some of that too.
Yeah, just what I was gonna say was I can't think of a question I have now, but I'm sure once I start trying to go through the process, I'll run into things where I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't know how he did this or whatever.
Yep.
I'll have questions to email you about.
Totally good. Yeah. Okay. Just send me a copy of the file, Kevin, when you're done with it, and I'll upload it and get it all squared away.
Perfect. And then I already sent out the notes and everything that you had shared last night. You all got that the email yesterday afternoon, evening, with the information for today and kind of the homework assignment in it. Okay, cool. Great. Jeff, do you have a couple minutes you can stay on, and you and I, a couple of other quick items to cover?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you. And we will talk with you all soon.
Bye. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Were we going to set up a meeting with Levine? Did you guys still want to do that, or?
Yeah.
Do you guys have each other's emails?
Are they on the BBC part? Like you forward it to everybody? I think.
You should see it. You see it in the invite.
Okay. Yeah. I think I have it.
I'll tell you what, why don't you just put your emails in the chat real quick to make sure that you got it.
Okay.
I've actually been thinking we should set up a Slack channel maybe for all the interns, either a Slack channel or something else.
Yeah, it would be nice to like connect with them and see what their thoughts are on stuff, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and you guys might also, I think I put Allie's email in there. Let me throw that in. Let me grab it real quick. And I'll throw that in there as well. So you can loop her into it. Okay. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you
Thank
all.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.